Welcome to Behind the Dub, a podcast series talking to voice actors about their experiences in industry as well as the shows they work on.
So, as I said, I usually ask my guests to introduce themselves, but I don't quite know if I'll ever get a chance like this ever again. So I'm going to indulge myself. He's Jack in Beastars, Clyder in Agretzico, Shoutmon in Digimon Fusion, and most recently Skeletor and He-Man in the Masters of the Universe. It's my great pleasure to introduce the Emmy Award-winning actor, Ben Diskin.
I knew you had to sneak it in. Thanks for that. Hi, how are you? It's good to speak to you.
It's good to actually speak to you. It's still very, very strange to me to actually be like, holy crap, I'm speaking to Ben Diskin. I have seen
Listen, I see that guy in the mirror every day. Trust me, it's nothing special.
As I was just gonna say, it's so weird for me because I was in school and you were voice acting, and I'm only a couple of years younger than yourself.
Oh wow!
But it's so weird that you've done this pretty much all your life.
Yeah.
And so how was it for you, sort of basically growing up being in sort of an acting industry? Wasn't it voice acting straight away, if my memory serves right?
Correct. Yeah. No, it was both of my parents are actors. They're both more or less retired right now, but they just sort of approached the industry as, let's make sure that our kids have some sort of college fund because we're broke actors and these two kids are eventually going to need to go to get like higher education. So why don't we put Ben and his sister in the acting industry? And, if they make a little bit of money, we'll throw it into a savings account and we'll invest it for them. And that way they'll be able to afford college so they can get a real job. And that was always the basic approach. I was very fortunate. Neither of my parents were the stereotypical stage mom and dad who wanted their little baby boy to be a star or something like that. They were just sort of like, yeah, he'll do some commercials. He'll maybe like do a TV show once, and then that'll be the end of it. And for me, it just kind of kept going because I enjoyed it. So it was just sort of a happy circumstance that thing that my parents made me do as a kid was something I actually enjoyed. When I was about I would say around 6 years old, the talent agency I was with, which was CED, they said, "Hey, does Ben want to do voiceover?" And I said, "Okay, I don't know what that is." And I didn't know how to read yet because I was in kindergarten. So they would just tell me what the script said and I would just parrot it back to them. And they said, "Great." Oh. And that was my first little teeny tiny taste of voiceover. And as I grew older, I started becoming very sort of disenfranchised with the whole idea of being a star or being on camera. Kids on the playground can be very mean. They were not so cool when they learned that I was in movies and stuff. And I realized I don't like being recognized. I like acting though. And doing cartoons was that sort of aha moment for me of, oh, I can be in control of my fame. If I don't tell people that's me in that show, they'll never know because they don't even recognize, even though I'm speaking in my regular speaking voice, they don't know it's me. And so I realized I have way more range as an actor to do voiceover and I have more fun and I don't have to deal with people not being very nice to me. So that's kind of how I got into the industry, was just sort of happenstance, parents being actors and me enjoying it. That's kind of how all this stuff started for me.
Well, that's lovely to hear, because sometimes if your parents are forcing you to do something, sometimes you can grow up with a bit of a resentment towards that. It's actually really nice to hear that, oh no, you liked it, you wanted to continue doing it. And I think that's brilliant. I honestly do. And it goes without saying, because again, I try not to do the usual questions that you've probably been asked, but I still think, you're in Kindergarten Cop. You acted with Arnold Schwarzenegger. That's like, wow, that's so cool. I'm not going to ask the usual questions, but that's still like having that opportunity really early on as well. You were quite young. It's just, that's incredible to me. That is just amazing. My first experience of hearing your voice was in a show called Hey Arnold, You're Eugene. And that's the one that really freaks me out at the minute, because it's like, wait a minute, I was just about starting secondary school or high school and I was hearing you acting.
Right.
It's just, what? Yeah, wow. And you've done, according to IMDb and Behind the Voice Actors, you've done over 300 different roles over the years.
I think so, yeah. Yeah,
That is, oh,
it's so funny to hear that because I hear people who are basically my age who come up to me and go, I grew up with you, man. And I'm like, really? Oh my God, how old am I? And then it's like, oh, that's right. No. I've been when I was a kid, they read, oh yeah, okay, it actually syncs up just fine. But yeah, no, man, Kindergarten Cop was like such a wild for me as a kid, because you're a kid. What I
Mm.
remember about that movie wasn't like, oh man, Arnold Schwarzenegger, wow, what an opportunity this is so cool. And like for me it was like, wow, they built a playground on the set for the kids to play on, and that's where I met my first girlfriend as a little kid. That's what I
Oh,
remember from the from that movie. It was like
oh, so
everything
sweet.
but filming it.
Everything but being with Arnold Schwarzenegger, but that
Yeah,
is,
go fig.
oh, that's insane. Was it difficult working on a movie set, being that age, or was it just you were supervised all the time?
Oh, my parents did everything they could to keep me as safe as possible on that set, and safe not from like necessarily bad people, but from bad behavior from like mostly the other parents, because a lot of them were the typical stage parents. So
Yeah.
like it was kind of like, okay, we're just gonna keep an eye on our kid and make sure that everything's fine for him, and everything was. So yeah, it was overall an extremely positive experience.
Oh, and the other thing I know that you're from as well, which I was quite surprised again to sort of read, you were Eric Sparrow in Tony Hawk's Underground.
Yes, I was everybody's like most favorite person to hate and desperately wanted to punch. Yeah.
Because I played that game for hours and hours and hours, and yes, you do kind of want to punch Eric. He is one of those just like just but it's but you've done so much different things and so much different range. As I said, I'm a fan of Digimon. Your Cutemon is terrifying hearing it coming out of your your face, because I thought it was some lovely lady or girl who did it. No,
Oh,
it's you. It's like,
you,
what?
you know how I got that role was by basically bullying my way into it. So okay, so here's what happened on for Digimon Fusion. There were a number of things that were technically inaccurate with the dub, and I'd already seen the sub, and so I was like, "Oh, this is wrong, guys. We have to fix this. Oh no, this isn't like." For instance, they would
Oh,
refer to Dorulumon as like a big scaredy cat, as a big kitty, and I was like, "No. He's
no.
actually part wolf, part
Yeah.
drill. Doru drill, Garudu growl, drill growlmon.
Oh.
You see?" And they were like, "Oh, we didn't know that." And so I'm like, "Yeah, we got to fix this." And by the way, Cutemon is not a girl, he's a boy. So like maybe you should have a guy do it. Maybe something like this. And I started like doing the voice. And I was like, "Do you need like a temp voice for it until you find somebody?" And they're like, "Okay, go ahead." And so I would just start doing like the thing. They're like, "All right, Ben, thanks." And then they just kept it. And I'm like, yes, this is how I'm going to get this role. So like, yeah, I just like kind of like twisted in a lot of arms. I honestly went overboard, to be perfectly frank, where they had to be like, "Ben, we get it. You care about this. You want it to be done right, but please a little back off a little." And I'm like, I'm sorry. I won't do that anymore.
Oh,
But yeah.
that's so sweet. I've no, again, that you don't hear stuff like this. You don't hear this sort of behind the scenes stuff. It's so nice that you actually go out and spend the time to watch the sub, and you're like, oh no, please come, let's get this right, and
Yeah.
I really enjoyed Digimon Fusion. You are great at Shoutmon
Oh,
as well,
thanks.
and the rest of the cast are also really, really good. It's one of my favorite Digimon series. I have a bit of a sort of a nostalgia for Tamers, which was season
Mm,
3. Fusion's a
Famers is
bit later on.
great. Oof.
And just saying on, because we now got Ghost Game, the new series that's airing now. I
Yes.
really hope you get something in that, or at least it gets dubbed, because it's only a couple episodes in. It's really good, and I really hope.
Really?
Yeah, I
Ooh.
think it's really. It's Digimon sort of again, but there's a slightly more sort of horror bent to it. It's a bit more
Oh,
sort of spooky, scary, and the first 2 episodes are really good. So if you get a chance to check it out seriously, and I
where
hope you
where
get
uh where,
something in
where,
it.
where could I find that?
On the internet, shall we say.
Oh, it's yeah, I gotcha. Okay.
It's airing in Japan right now. I'll say that
Understood.
it's not out our side of things yet, but you can find it if you know where to look. But again, the range of characters that you've done from cute squeaky little characters to big hulking monsters, and most recently Skeletor in the
Yeah.
new He-Man Masters of the Universe. That must be quite an honor as well.
Oh
Again, I
yeah.
was slightly too young for He-Man when I was growing up, but I know of it because it's just in the pop culture zeitgeist. It's there. as part of your 80s He-Man, and now you're part of the ongoing sort of thing, or the ongoing franchise.
Oh yeah.
Was it quite a shock to you when you got the role, or were you like, yes, I've made it mine?
I really like, listen, there was this time when I was a kid. I like you, I was like just a hair too young to be like into the He-Man thing. Like I was a Ninja Turtles guy. That was my
Same.
80s thing. Same. Yeah, there you go. So we're like right around the same age. But like, yeah, also very aware of He-Man. And there was this point throughout my life where I was obsessed with like skeleton characters. There was this old series, not well, yeah, I guess we can call it old and insult ourselves. A fairly old series called Skeleton Warriors. I think it went for like one season. It was about these guys who would transform into these skeleton things that would fight crime or something. I honestly have no idea.
Fight crime.
Sure. And I was like, this is great. And I think the show actually probably wasn't very good, my guess. But I was like, oh my God, it's that thing I like. I liked Zelda, a Link to the Past. And I was like, oh my gosh, the Stalfos Knights are my favorite. So for some reason, I was all about skeletons for like a certain period of my youth. And of course, Skeletor was like that guy where I'm like, yes, everything has that sort of like Skeletor vibe to it. So even though I didn't necessarily truly grow up with He-Man, it was always at like that character specifically was always like the thing that drew me to that series. And especially the 2000X reboot of that was like, oh my God, Skeletor's a badass in this. This is really cool. So yeah, as soon as the auditions for this series and also for Revelation came out, like that's who I focused on. I was like, yeah, I'll audition for a He-Man, but I know I'm not right for that. I know what I'm right for, which is the messed up, crazy bad guy. That's the cool shiz. So yeah, no, getting to do Skeletor is just a straight up blast. I joke and say that it's murder on my throat, but honestly, like I found like the right place to do it for like fairly long periods of time without hurting myself. So it's totally worth it.
Yeah, you found the right sort of position in front. How hard is it for you to go from different characters? How do you kind of make yourself recall what a character sounds like?
Oh, well, it's two things. One, they usually have a reference file that they will play so that you hear what you did and go, oh, right, that's what I did. And then you just sort of like try to get back into voice like that. And others, it's just sort of like, it's the same way somebody would remember how to do a dance. You know, you practice it over and over again. You know, I hit this physical position, right? You're doing the same thing with your voice where you go, oh, it's here with this kind of a little tweak and twist to the muscles, and I'm pushing from this part of my throat to make that sound. And you just remember that, and you just sort of like lock into that position and perform the character through that. So it's like for Cutemon, for instance, that's basically me doing the throat equivalent of like making a fist. Like it's not like this like screaming voice, but it's like I'm squeezing everything tighter and tighter and tighter and tighter and tighter until it's like here, and I'm pushing through, and that's what creates that. So I like have to hang on to that as hard as I can. And so like for that voice, like it's vocally stressful, but in a different way than something that has that kind of like growl grind in it. And so it's you just sort of figure out where that position is, and you just lock onto it as hard as you can, and then talk through it, and then take a break, and then lock back into that position and talk through it again. And that's kind of how you stay on voice if you can.
Because it must be so difficult doing a demanding voice, so like I say, like Cutemon, where it's really it's a lot of effort from the sound of it. You must be, for doing that for a couple of hours, it must wreck your voice. You must wake up the next day going, "Oh my God, what's happened here?" You know.
Well, for me, I did karate for a little over 20 years, so it was a lot of yelling and screaming in that. So I think my voice has just kind of gotten like calloused enough in the right places where it's just like, oh yeah, it's this shit again, it's fine. Yeah, okay, I've already like messed up that part of my voice, so here we go again. It's that kind of thing. So I actually like don't really need too much recovery time unless it's like the same day. If I'm doing some sort of a like a Call of Duty kind of thing where it's, it's screaming, get under the bridge, incoming mortar, grenade, that sort of stuff. That after that, I'll sound off, but like the next morning, I'm usually okay again.
I was just going to say, how many sessions do you usually have on a normal day? Is it just one, maybe two, or do you try and cram them in as much as you can.
That's tough. Yeah. It's, being a voice actor is you spend like probably about 90% of your time auditioning and only 10% actually doing the job that pays. So it's kind of like, it's weird where it's like, I quote unquote work every day because I always have like once I'm done with this, I have a backlog of auditions that are due tomorrow. So I'm going to have to do that today before I forget. And so like, but the actual sessions, some weeks, it's like, wow, yeah, like one thing a day, and others, I go for like 2 or 3 weeks with literally no income, no work, no nothing. So it's finding an average to that is I would have to basically break down my calendar, count out all the sessions, and like do the math. That's
do the math. Oh no,
yeah.
Because as I mentioned before, you're a really prolific voice actor. You're probably one of the hardest working in the industry, especially in terms of roles. And it's so weird just to hear you saying, "Oh yeah, there's times I don't get that much work." And I was talking to another gentleman about this in a previous episode, and he was saying that sometimes it can be like months in between work, and of course the only time you're actually earning is when you're actually in session, that for that hour, maybe 2 hours. And it must be quite scary, even as someone as prolific and well known as yourself, when you've got those quiet periods. And I know you must have you must have backup plans, you got savings and all that, but it still must be scary for you.
It is, it's it's for a lot of people, this job, especially for the really low paying stuff, it's basically a living paycheck to paycheck type situation. The time in between, it's weird because it's feast and famine. That's the life of an actor. It's, oh my gosh, I'm working all the time and everything's great, and then you go, oh my gosh, now I'm not working at all, what happened? And it's the reality is nothing happened. It's just, it ebbs and flows, and you just have to kind of get used to that level of uncertainty. It's funny because, if you talk to somebody who is not in the industry about what we're paid, typically speaking, people will think, oh my gosh, voice actors must be like millionaires, like to do, for instance, like non-union dubbed anime, it pays $75 an hour with a 2-hour minimum guarantee. And people will hear that and they'll go, oh my God, you get $75 an hour? Well, if I got that, I would be like making over like $130,000 a year. That's amazing. And you go, no, I don't work 8 hours a day, 5 days a week at that rate. I will work maybe one session like that a week if I'm lucky. So really, I'm making about $150 a week. So like that's kind of more of what your typical voice actor earns. So it's like we actually really don't make a lot of money, and a lot of actors work paycheck to paycheck, while everybody else thinks that we're all like multimillionaires and a bunch of spoiled brats. So anytime we ask for a raise or try to raise the rates, we'll get people in the public who are like, you spoiled son of a bitch. God, you guys are already loaded in money and you're making so much cash. And we're like, no, we're really not. It's not an act. We're all broke. Why do you think we go to conventions and sell autographs all the time? It's to make some extra money. I mean, of course, yes, it's also to meet the fans. We do like that. But for a lot of people, that's actually where they make the bulk of their money for doing anime stuff. It's wild.
Because for a few years, I kind of said, oh, why are they charging for autographs? Oh, why are they charging £20-30 or whatever for the thing? And then I learned about some of the pay disparity, and I'm like, no, that's reasonable.
It's messed up. You know why? Like it's kind of like I don't believe it's this way in the UK. Tell me if I'm talking out my butt and I'm wrong. But for like, is there a no tipping situation at restaurants in the UK? Or
in the UK, you can tip, but it's not part of the public norm, shall we say? It's not.
Gotcha.
You usually, if it's like exceptional, say, oh, I might leave a couple extra quid for the waitress or the server, whoever. But it's not as common thing as it is in the States, where it's kind of expected for you to.
Oh,
tip.
It's totally, yeah. Like that's, I mean, because like they basically what they do is they underpay their employees so much that they need those tips. That's kind of what being like a dubbing actor is. It's the work itself pays very poorly, and then you go, all right, I need to make money on the back end, so please tip your voice actor at these conventions. That's what, but it just makes us look like assholes, I think. And it's like, no, please, this is the only way I could pay my rent. It's like it's like such a weird experience.
Yeah, it must, because I said for a little while I was like, oh, why are they charging for autographs? Then I learned that this is how basically you get the money in and the merchandise rolling in and such. So it's like Yeah, I completely support your voice actors. It's also why I feel a little bit guilty when I'm pulling voice actors out of work for an hour to talk to them like this.
That's okay. No, I mean, I don't like charging for interviews anyway, so it's like this is totally fine.
And you mentioned conventions. Now, it is no surprise to people who at least watch or listen to me. I am a furry, and I believe you have been soft adopted by the furry fandom thanks to Haida, Jack, and then Shiro. And I'm like, you're all sort of dogs and canines. You're just getting typecast as this.
Hey. Hyenas are not canines. I'm gonna go there. Okay, they're their own thing. They're more closely related to cats. Get it right. But yeah, I do seem to get the canines. I'm also Rusty in Zoophobia, which is a Vivzy Pop cartoon about talking animal people as well. I don't know for some reason. Oh, it's cute. Yeah.
And that must have been quite an experience. Was it Haida that got you in first, or was it Jack? Oh, no, Haida was first, and then Jack.
Definitely Haida. Yeah. Oh yeah.
And you got a suit made for you. That looked really cool. I will say.
That was nice. Yeah, that guy literally just said, "I want to make you this," and I was like, "Ha, sure you do. Okay, go nuts." Because sometimes people are like, "I'm gonna make you a thing," and then it never happens. And I'm like,
never
okay.
happens, no.
And he was like, "So here's the design," and I'm like, "Oh, wow, that's okay." And he's like, "And here's the finished product. Here you go." And I'm like, "Oh my god. Oh, it's real. Oh, okay." And so yeah, I got to have that for Anthrocon, I believe, 2019, I think is when I went. And yeah,
that's cool. I went to Anthrocon later myself. It is quite the experience, Anthrocon, I will say. But I just find it so lovely that you kind of just got adopted by the fandom. It's like, right, you're one of us now. We're having you. And,
hey, listen, the furries have been very nice to me, so like I'm totally I accept the adoption. It is very kind.
And as said, your Jack in Beastars, we recently had season 2. Fantastic. Oh, yeah. I loved season 2 much more than season 1. Not saying season 1's bad, but I like season 2 more. I think it really expanded the world much better. I wish there was a bit more Jack, but I know in the story wise he's not kind of there. But
no, he doesn't. I don't think he's gonna. Like, if they really follow the manga, I mean, like the boy, there's quite a few characters who kind of just sort of disappear and then make little guest appearances. Yeah, but no spoilers for anybody who hasn't seen it.
No.
But yes, but yeah, no, I just like playing Jack because he's just a very sweet, innocent character. And of course, everybody thought I was talking about knotting in season 1 because people hear what they want to hear, I guess.
No.
Anyway, like, no, Jack does not talk like that, folks. All right. Sheesh.
If I have to pull a slight deep cut, I know he doesn't like whistles.
No, that's Haida, but close enough.
Haida. Oh.
Same thing. That I mean, yeah.
I know there's a
no. Jack doesn't like ladders. That's the joke. Yeah. Yes, I've seen it, people. Anybody who's listening to this, I've seen it. I get the joke. You can stop posting ladders.
And speaking on Haida, is it season 4 of Agretsuko's due out later this year?
Yes. According to Netflix's own website, it's December 16th. I don't think they've officially
there's a
said
date now. Okay.
Yes.
Because last I heard it was holiday.
Oh yes. Now it should be. It's definitely December. It seems like December 16th is the sticking date, but they never actually officially said it was the 16th.
Yeah, that's again just a really nice sort of slice of life. Would you call the Mexico slice of life series? And Haida's a good boy. We like Haida. Yeah.
He's dumb, but he cares.
He's not dumb. Although, admittedly, I need to catch up on season 3. I haven't had quite a chance to get around to it yet. It's kind of on the watch list, but I haven't quite got there yet.
Yeah, and season 3 is good. It goes in places that you might not expect. So I would say embrace yourself. But it's good.
I've seen some GIFs. It seems to be of Haida in a karaoke booth, shall we say?
Yes.
Is that you singing?
Yes. Well, singing is very much that's a nice way of putting it. It's really just me like saying stuff loudly because like Haida is not really a good singer, thank God, because I'm not a good singer. So it's mostly just me like blah 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 blah, but with like maybe some kind of an effect on it, and that's it.
Oh dear, because one of the main questions I like asking is, can you sing? Because some voice actors always have some sort of musical talent or some musical theater experience, and so usually it ranges from yeah I can sing to oh god no I can't.
Oh yeah, no, I mean, I think I can make the occasional armpit fart noise. That's as close to like music as I get. So there you go. That's my singing talent right there.
I usually say to people, I have a singing voice like a goose farting in the fog.
I might steal that. That's pretty great.
It's from a gentleman called Billy Conley, but yeah, it's like no, that's my singing range. But with the what I'd like to call the event going on in the world, we've had to change a lot of procedures and things.
Yes,
and a lot of people have now been recording from home, and we've got a lot of shows now that have been recorded entirely from home studios.
Correct.
And one of the questions I like asking some people is, if you've got experience of both, which do you prefer? Do you prefer going out into a studio, or do you like doing it at home?
About 99% in studio. The one thing I like about working from home is the commute, because I wake up and I step out of bed and I'm at work. So that's nice. Other than that, oh dear Lord, no. My booth is about the size of a spacious coffin. It is it gets super hot in here, like super fast. So like all of the jobs that I do in here, I'm just standing in my boxer shorts, just sweating like a pig. Yeah, I'm like, I really don't like, and also controlling your own gain while you're trying to perform and trying to dub remotely. It's the technological stuff. I can do it, but I just really don't like doing it. In studio, it's, oh, good. There is a professional audio engineer here. I'm in a professional audio environment. They are going to control this. They're going to make sure that I sound correct and good. And I just have to do the acting thing, which is what I'm here to do anyway. So like, yes, please, can't wait to for everything to go back into studio. But as an alternative, this ain't bad. You know, it's kind of nice to just be able to wake up and just go to work and not have to get dressed. Well, I get undressed, I guess, but you know, same idea. I did Oliver Gretzko season 3 from here, actually. That's so they pulled that off, and it doesn't sound bad. It doesn't sound like I'm stuck inside of a box and trying to do this. So you know, yeah.
Because I've seen some setups, and I've heard from sort of the bits. It's like I know Jonah Scott for ages. He did it from his wardrobe. He just slid the door open, shut in, and there with his jackets and doing it. And I saw this on his Twitch, and I'm like, is he seriously doing it from inside a wardrobe? And apparently, it's not uncommon. There's a couple with like they've built booths in, like Jason Manocha is a guy I talked to recently. Sure. He has a little booth in his living room. And another gentleman I spoke to recently, George Peter, he literally converted a little, I think it's his wardrobe space with like duvets and all that, just to get the acoustic treatment. And so it is really interesting to see how people have adapted to try and do their profession to make sure that it is the highest quality possible.
Yeah.
And the ranges that they go to, the simplest one I saw was literally a cardboard box with foam in it, and they draped a duvet over themselves, a comforter over themselves. And it's just like, oh wow, the lengths they're going to make sure that these shows keep going out for essentially our entertainment. So you don't realize that they're sweating stood in their boxes in a box. You don't hear that.
I mean, the people I feel the worst for are like the audio engineers who are doing all the mixing, because like it's one thing to have like it's sort of like the weakest link, right? Like you're only as strong as your weakest link. If you have somebody in there who has like a really crummy setup, you have to kind of try to make their audio sound good. You might have to change the other people's audio to sound not as professional so that everybody sounds like they're all recording in the same space. And also even if it's good quality, different people have different setups. So some people are a lot closer to the microphone because this is what they have to do. And other people can be farther away. So it's like, you have to like try to figure out, and you're not there. So you can't be like, get closer, change this. So you can't mic them. You can't fix. So there's so much stuff that has to go on the back end of this stuff just to make it sound good. And it's like, those guys, boy, they don't get enough appreciation for all of the stuff that, especially during the pandemic, they've had to really
the unspoken heroes. They really are. There's so many things, especially because people have this assumption with voice actors that it's literally you get paid a lot of money to speak silly voices into a microphone, and then you go home and you just party and that's it. And it's like
Right.
it's not like that. It's a lot of work, as
No.
you mentioned with the auditions. You're auditioning almost constantly. I heard from another voice actor. They said that for every like 20 auditions, you might hear back from one or two, if at all.
That's
it.
very generous. I'll be honest with you. It's really more like 1 out of every like 50. It's because the competition for these things is very, very high. So a lot of times you're just like, all right, I'm gonna put this out there and hope for the best. And you'll try out for like 50 to 100 things and maybe get one. You really have to just constantly go, unless you've advanced to like one of those positions within the industry where like you are so well known and people know what you can do so well that they just kind of go, hey, you want to come in and play this character, and you go, sure. But like to get to that point, it takes years and years and years of constant success on the right projects that pay you a lot of money to get to that point. Otherwise, you're just auditioning nonstop.
Because sometimes I could probably think who are kind of like that is like your Troy Bakers, your Nolan Norths, and that they're probably at that position where they probably would just get people following. Oh, could you please do this for us? I was thinking maybe that could be applied to yourself. Maybe you would get people approaching you. Do you get people approaching you that often for work, or is it usually just you have to still audition?
Well, it's for me, it's kind of a mixture. I mean, it's definitely mostly still audition for stuff and book it. There's if I do get like just hired for something, it's usually like a walk-on role for like one episode, and like they worked with me on something else and they're like, hey, Ben can do this. We don't have like super strict casting guidelines for this, like, but for like main characters, especially if like original animation and video games, like, no, that's all auditions. That's very, very, very rarely will somebody be like, hey, I want you to be the lead in this project, go. Like, that's almost unheard of for me.
But Ben, you're an Emmy Award winner. Surely that would have work coming through the door.
No, that is a lie. No, I like, honestly, that's kind of why I joke about it. It's like, yes, wow, behold this thing. It's really, really cool, and it's a real honor to have won that thing. And no, it does not actually get me work. Like, nobody cares. They just kind of go, ooh, la di da di da, ooh. I'm like, I don't bring it up. Why does everybody else? But no, that has not helped me get more work at all.
I have noticed it's come a slight joke for you. I'm like, oh, I have to I have to sort of scratch that little itch. But it was for Muppet Babies, wasn't
Correct,
it?
yes. For Baby Gonzo and Baby Rizzo. It's just like a really wonderful surprise to get nominated, and I was not expecting to win, so I was just very delighted.
I think there's a video, I think it was on Instagram or YouTube, but where it's you accepting it, and you, bless you, you're so cute. You're like, dude, it was, you looked lost, man. I'd be the same. I'd be like deer in headlights going, yeah, thanks,
Well, because I didn't, they say you're always supposed to like come prepared just in case you win, write a little speech. And I didn't do that until like the night before, and I suddenly had a panic attack of just in case, who did what on this show, just so I know who to thank. And I like quickly wrote it down and like memorized just that. And then I had to like just diarrhea of the mouth up there on stage going, this, thank you very much. Holy crap, goodbye. And then I left. And that was, so I have to like watch that video to remember what the hell I said, but I think I got most of it right.
Oh, yes, because I'd be just in the same situation. It's like, wait, what? And everyone's looking at you and you're like, oh, okay. But, so you've done a lot of acting. You've done so many different things. Again, over 300 I can see here on IMDb. Have you done many commercials in your time?
Yes. I did. Especially when I was a kid. A lot of TV commercials, but mostly like radio commercials. I do still do various things. Commercial work as for voiceover is like one of those things where like that is the ultimate feast or famine right there. Like the people who just do that, because if you book like say a big union commercial for like TV, they can run the crap out of that for like sometimes more than a year, and they keep renewing it, which means they keep paying you, so you can wind up making thousands and thousands of dollars off one commercial. But good luck, because you're up against thousands and thousands of people for each one of those spots. So it's like wow, if you book it, oh my gosh, it's a lot of money, but you probably won't. So have fun auditioning like a bajillion times for basically the same thing and not booking it.
Do you audition just for anything these days, or do you kind of stick to character roles?
Oh, I audition for pretty much anything, unless I just look at it and go, yeah, I'm not right. I can't convincingly play like a 70-year-old man, unless it's like a cartoony 7-year-old man. Like this just isn't for me. I'll pass on stuff like that. But pretty much, unless there's some sort of very questionable content or something like that, yeah, I'll audition for it. I'm an actor. I need guys, I need to make a living. So like a long time ago, somebody talked to me about the Stitch anime based on Lilo and Stitch. I played Stitch in that. And they said, like, why did you accept the role of Stitch? Because they didn't like the show. And I was like, accept the role? Bitch, I auditioned for the role. I had to beat out Steve Bloom for the role, who's, by the way, the guy I would have hired to play Stitch because of Guilmon on Digimon Tamers. And I was like, no, I had to like beat out the guy who I thought was better than me. Like I fought for that fucking role. Are you kidding me? Pardon my language. I don't know if
it's fine. It's fine.
Oh, okay. Sorry. I wasn't sure if I should watch my potty mouth. But yeah, that's so like no, like I try out for anything if it's gonna pay the bills. Yep.
You beat Steve Bloom for Stitch.
Yes.
What that? Because now you say, "Oh, Steve Bloom for Stitch," I can go, "Yeah, I can hear that."
Right.
What you beat? So I haven't heard your Stitch. If
it's not bad.
Honest.
It's Hana means family. Family means no one gets left behind or forgotten. Yeah. That's kind of what it sounds like. So like, but like we really pitched it up for that show. So it was more up here, and he also talks a lot more. So it was like kind of like he like speaks in full sentences. It's a strange spin-off show. But yeah, I think we went 3 seasons for that show. Yeah.
And because you mentioned seasons, if you've been in a role for a season, so say for example as Jack, are you automatically brought back in at you for subsequent seasons, or has there been any instance where you've had to like re-audition for the character that you've already done?
Oh, usually if you get replaced like between the seasons or something like that, it's because either there was some sort of a negotiation issue that fell through, or you just didn't want to come back, or they wanted to go in a different direction with a character, stuff like that. But typically speaking, like, no, they just have you come back. They just say, hey, we're doing another season. Yeah, there's not usually, so like, unless there's something going on behind the scenes, usually like the actor will just come back. That's the most common situation.
Okay, because sometimes I've heard of actors just being dropped or replaced in between seasons, and sometimes you kind of go, "Why? What did they just fail the audition again?" And
oh no, it's usually some behind the scenes BS. That's typically what happens.
And so is it nice knowing that you've got like a constant workflow? I don't know if there's been any official confirmation, but like Beastars, almost definitely is going to be a season 3 because there's so much more the manga to do, and they only just did like one of the arcs essentially.
Yes.
So is it nice? Like, oh, well, at least I've got Jack for a couple more episodes and another season. Is it nice to have that feeling, or?
Well, I mean, it depends. Yes, because it's nice knowing that there's something to look forward to. But like a lot of the times it's just sort of like, yeah, that's great, but what am I doing that's new? Because if I'm just relying on like reprisals and stuff like that, eventually those end. So if I don't have something new in the works, it's like, well, what about next year though? And what's funny too is that there's usually not so much with anime, that's a lot more quick turnaround time, but for like original animation and video games, typically you'll do something that's just coming out a year ago. So like that's typically the amount of time. It's like I recorded that a year ago. So you'll have people going, oh wow, you must be doing so great. This just came out and this just came out and this, and you're like, no, last year I did great. This year I am fucking terrified because holy cow, I am not working at all. And yikes. But you have to put on that show and go, yeah, everything's great, man. Woo. It's what you see on social media is not the whole picture. Let me just say that.
Because so He-Man came out sort of recently. How long ago did you record it?
Oh boy, this was we started recording that show pre-pandemic,
Oh,
pre-lockdown,
wow.
back in like
Okay.
2019. So because that's CG animation that takes even longer than traditional more Flash or 2D animation type stuff. So
Yeah.
yeah, no, we like all of the stuff that we're seeing now. Like no, I recorded that like 2 years ago.
Oh, that's daft. And do you ever have that feeling if you're well, actually, do you watch the shows you're in after you've done
I
them?
I do try mostly because I want to see like, well, how did that turn out? How's the
Mm.
finished project? Sometimes I'll watch a little bit. And I'll go, okay, cool. That's how that turned out. And like, that's pretty much it. And other times I'll just be like, no, I'm going to watch the whole thing. I want to see how this whole thing played out.
Because I wonder if you ever had you get that your character does something. I go, I don't remember saying that.
Yeah, that happens. I mean, it's most of the stuff like it's I actually do tend to go like, oh yeah, no, I remember this, but like some things like they haven't come out yet, and you go, what did I do? And then it comes out, and you go, right, that thing. Oh, okay. Oh, that worked out pretty well. Or, ooh, I wish if I could have gone back in time. Ooh, I would have done something different. That's the most common thing.
And we'll talk about sort of remote working and that. It used to be sort of traditionally, as far as I'm aware, there was kind of like three bases in the US for voice acting. There was basically LA, Dallas, and I think it was somewhere near New York as well, where that's
Yes.
basically you're in one of these three places. It was always the same bunch of actors who worked in each of these three sort of places. So you get the LA lot, then you get the Dallas lot, and I'll just say the New York lot.
Sure.
And now these days, thanks to sort of remote work, we're starting to see shows with a great more diversity in the cast. An example is, because it's going to be the forever reference on my blooming show, a show called Dragon Ghost House Hunting. And one of the things that I really liked about the dub in that particular instance was the variety of the accent and talent. It wasn't just all just Americans. We had, one of the leads was from Edinburgh, and there's, it was a nice mix. So you're based in, is it LA? You're based on the LA
Yes.
side. And would you say that's been preferential to you? Do you like being in LA, or would you like to live somewhere else?
Well, my family's in LA, so that's why I like LA. But like, do I like the extremely expensive cost of living here? No. So like, there's a part of me that's like, boy, it sure would be nice if the voice acting industry would just kind of pack up their bags and move someplace that's more reasonable. That would be cool. But like, yeah, it's weird with remote record. I don't really know how this is going to change once COVID is finally over and in the rearview mirror. Because like some studios have basically found that remote recording is really advantageous. In say Los Angeles, you'll have a studio and they have maybe say several different buildings that they own or rent, and they have a total of maybe 5 to 10 booths throughout their company. But when you do remote recording, if everybody's at home, that frees up those booths. So that means they can technically take on more work so they can produce more projects.
Yeah.
So it kind of helps their business, but at the same time, again, it's that like, well, we got to mix and match a bunch of different setups, and that can get really tricky and frustrating, et cetera, et cetera. So it has its positives and its negatives, but it's like, yeah, like at first it's like, oh my gosh, we can hire people from pretty much everywhere. Because before everybody was resistant to that idea, and now it's really opened the door to a lot of new talent from like anywhere you live. If you have good enough internet, sure, you can do remote record, and that's really, really cool. But I'm not sure what the future is going to be once, like, again, COVID is finally behind us. Are we all just going to be expected to come back in? Are all those remote record people going to be out of luck again? I don't know. It seems like it's probably going to be kind of a mix and match kind of like hodgepodge type thing where some people are recording from home and some aren't. And I don't know. So like overall, I'm glad that it's happening. I feel also like the more global this becomes, the more united the actors can potentially become if we're all on the same page and we're all being paid the same and treated the same way. And it kind of stops the sort of taking advantage of people who are just in an area type situation. Because some places, and I won't name names obviously, but like there are certain places that underpay certain talent, and the idea is like, hey, where else are you gonna go? You gonna go somewhere else? This is it. This is your opportunity, so deal with it. And that's why they work for low wages, and that's why they're kind of taken advantage of. And I'm hoping hoping that this kind of changes that, and it allows people to kind of like get experience working for different studios and figuring out how they're supposed to be paid and how different employers should treat them. But yeah, it's a very, very complicated situation with each region having its own culture and its own understanding of how things should work. And boy, yeah, so it's part uniting and also part really revealing the differences in the different markets and the different trends and the different ways of approaching this industry. It's complicated.
It does
very
sound complicated.
short answer to your question.
And one gentleman described it essentially as the Wild West. It's essentially just it must be very sort of scary to be in that sort of situation where you're looking for work, you need work you're living paycheck to paycheck, and then you get in studios not paying all the same rates, or you might get a great rate in one place and then another place where you're more likely to get work, you're going to get crap.
Exactly.
And it's just that's not on, really. I have heard that commercial work always pays better than, like, say, anime work.
Oh yeah.
I have seen some numbers, and it's just like, oh, what? Really? That's how much you get paid? And it's insane.
It's so strange.
Yeah.
Well, because you look at that and you go, so wait a minute, you're gonna say like the all new Toyota and like that's going to pay you like way better than like something that everybody knows you from and everybody cares about. Like, sure, like, well, actually, okay, so I did a commercial for Coors Light. It's like this guy on the beach and it's really hot, but he has Coors Light and he drinks Coors Light. Nah, that fixes that. That's the whole idea behind the spot. Well, the guys who I worked with, I worked remote. I worked from here. I believe they're in Chicago, I think is where they are. And one of the guys started talking anime with me, and he was like, yeah, oh my gosh, you're Joseph Joestar. And I'm like, you realize you're paying me way more for this one thing than anything I ever got for Jojos, where I screamed my head off like a lunatic for literally 8 hours a day at certain times just to try to get that thing done on time. This one like commercial is going to pay me better than that. It's like such a strange dichotomy.
And yet people will go, oh my God, you're Joseph Joestar. It's exactly. It's insane. One of the things that I was just going to ask you, you kind of stumbled into it, is, do you get recognized when you're out and about if you speak?
Oh, no. Like that happens. When it does, I'm like, what? Like it's happened, I think, twice recently. Once was at like downtown Disney. It's the shopping area outside of Disneyland. Okay. And somebody like tweeted at me and said like, hey, was that you in the store? And I'd already come home and I was like, wait, what? Oh, apparently I got recognized. And one time at a mall, but to be fair, I did have like a mask on, and it was like it looks like Haida's lower jaw. So it's like,
yeah.
I was like, well, okay, that's kind of a gimme. Like, all right. And it was weird because the guy just came up to me and said, hey, are you Ben? And I was like, yeah. And he said, oh, okay. And then he just left. And I'm like, what the hell was that? And I'm like, oh, I guess I got recognized. Yeah, okay, weird. But like, no, like the vast majority of people have no clue who I am. Like I can go walking down the street, not a single person goes, oh my gosh, is that Emmy award-winning Ben Diskin? And I go, yes. And then I pull it out of my pocket somehow and go, behold, there it is. Like, no, it's, yeah, I do not get recognized unless, that's not fair. If it's a convention where they know I'm going to be, maybe. If it's a convention, if it's a convention-like area, like if you go to, say, a Little Tokyo in downtown LA, where there's lots of like Japanese stuff, anime stuff everywhere. I've gotten recognized there before, but like, that's it.
But because that's sort of the good, it'll be a hotspot because the people who would shop in that area would be more otaku, they or furry. Sure. They kind of know. Yeah. Because I'm just wondering if you've ever been like on the phone or you've just been out and about and you've ordered somewhere and goes, you sound familiar.
Oh no, I don't think that's ever happened.
Because again, some people, would you say you probably know more? You're more known now for your voice than you are actually your physical self, your real self.
Well, I would say neither. I'm not really well known. I think people know the characters, but like the actual person behind them, usually not. So like I would say, if I'm well known for anything, it would be the voices that I do, but not necessarily my regular speaking voice. Like Haida and Agretzko, and to a certain extent, Jack and Beastars, those are like the rare occasions where I actually just use my regular talking voice. Everything else, it's some kind of character thing. So I don't tend to get recognized for a lot of that stuff unless I start doing the voice. And then people go like, oh, wow, that's a pretty good impression. And I'm like, yeah,
Oh, no.
thanks. Cool. That's what I was going for, was an impression. All righty. Or they go, you don't really sound like the guy who does it, but that's not bad. I'm like, all right.
Oh no. I was going to say, Hyder and Jack are kind of closer to your natural speaking voice.
Yes.
Was that just the director going, yeah, this is good? You don't try and put anything more to it?
Oh, well, so for Haida and Agretzko, when I got the audition sides, I don't know why. I for some reason I looked at this character and I said, this dude has a crush on the main character. That's how I approached the audition, and it just so happened to be true. And so in the audition sides, I was kind of like, wow, ladies, I feel bad for you. Ooh, sorry, didn't mean to call you ladies. My bad. Like, just kind of like trying to play it real cool. And I got in there, and they were like, we liked your voice, but like you kind of sounded like you were trying to like hit on her. No, we just want you to be sort of awkward sounding and dorky, but with the same voice. And I was like, so you just want me to be me? You just want me to be an awkward dork? They're like, yeah. And I'm like, oh, okay, sure. And Jack was actually, so I actually did not get the role of Jack originally for Beastars. I actually was cast as Bill the tiger.
Oh,
so
okay,
yeah, because I auditioned for only for two of the characters. That's all the only audition sides I got was for Legoshi and for Louis. And they basically said like, okay, well, we're not feeling it for either of those guys, but how about Bill? Congratulations, you're Bill. And I was like, oh, Bill, Bill, yeah, Bill. Oh my God. Oh God, I'm wrong for this role. And so I wrote to Bob Buchholz, who's the voice director and casting director, and I said, listen, Bob, I normally don't do this, but I have to pass on this. Like, I am so wrong for this character. I know there's somebody else out there who's better for this character. I'm so sorry. I just feel like I would bring down the quality of this show if I played this role. I know you can get somebody better. And he said like, oh, well, Ben, I appreciate the honesty and stuff like that. I mean, well, there was one other character that we were like considering you for. And I was like, oh, who? And he was like, it's this guy named Jack. And I said, I can nail that role. I can totally get that right. And he was like, all right, we'll make you Jack. And I'm like, thank you. And so that's how I got Jack. But yeah, no, it was just sort of like, instead of my regular speaking voice, it's just a little bit more higher pitched because he's a little bit younger, but like, that's it.
You're just channeling it in a golden retriever and just let it go.
Arf.
I'm trying to remember who is Bill. Kaiji Tang.
Yeah, KG Tang, yes.
KG Tang. Yeah, he's great. I'm just thinking, yeah, you could have done Bill, but he's better. No insult to you, of course, but
no, that's fine. No, he's way more right for that role. He did a great job.
And I will have to show this when I did the video podcast, but you did a photo shoot with the cast of Beastars season 2. Yes. And you guys, you take a great picture together, but I just love you because everyone's got this lovely dour face on, and you're the grinning, I'm happy to be here. It's insane. And it's just
what's funny is that nobody said, I want you to pose like you're the characters, but everybody instinctively did that.
I thought that was like something that everyone says, oh, we need to be like a character. That was just, that makes it even better now.
Yeah, they were just like, we just want you to like kind of like look like somebody. So you have like Juno, Lauren Landa looking like oh, I love you, and like Louis like, oh, I don't trust you. Pina being like, I don't know how I feel. Ooh. And then me just staring at the camera, stupid like yearbook picture, smiling like, yay, and I'm here too. And it's like, yeah, that's the characters though. That's pretty much all of them.
That's it. It's so nice to see group pictures like that where it is like a group effort, because sometimes again you get this impression that you're all loners, you don't interact. It's nice to see that you are friends with all these people. And do you find it easier to work off with other characters that other people are playing in the same space, like in a studio space, or are you usually on your own?
Well, for dubbing, we're on our own. Like 99.99999% of the time. very rarely will they have you like in with somebody else, but that's extraordinarily unusual. It's a very strange thing. But for original animation, they like to do group records where we're all together and we can literally play off each other. So like that's how we did He-Man. It's everybody's in the same room all doing the voices, and there's some improv that goes on, which really kind of brings everything together because everybody knows what the other person is going to do and sound like, and you can react live. Whereas with dubbing, unless people have already been recorded before you don't really know what they're going to sound like. So you're kind of making some assumptions, and you're hoping that the director knows what they want that other person to do, so they're going to direct you in the right way. It's very much like take these different people who really aren't interacting with each other, but make sure that they sound like they are. So it's a very different challenge for that kind of a voice director for anime. I personally, yeah, I definitely prefer the group records in terms of the interaction of the characters, but like also like dubbing, I mean, you can like do things a lot more quickly when it's just you. And then so sometimes if you have like a lot of stuff on your plate, you're like, hey, this is only going to take 15 minutes instead of 4 hours. You know what I mean? Yeah. It's that kind of thing. So that's kind of nice. But yeah, overall, it's like I really like the dubbing experience a lot, but I really like working with other people too. So it's they both kind of go back and forth. Ultimately, I'd say probably prefer the dubbing experience depending on the show, depending on the
I was going to say it must depend on some of the factors.
Oh yeah.
Is there any particular thing that you like working on the most? Do you like original animations, or do you like dubbing, or video games? Are you got any particular preference?
Oh, I like all of them. I would say I do enjoy the freedom of like video games and original animation, because you're not locked into a pre-existing animation, so you can kind of bring yourself to the role a little bit more without fear of like, oh, that didn't sync. How do we make that sort of unusual mouth movement work in English? Like, there's none of that stuff. So I like that a lot. But there's the thing I love about anime on the other hand is you already know what it's going to look like. So yeah. You could see what the characters are doing and go, oh, that's the kind of performance I need to give to match up with the animation that already exists. So you know what it's going to look like as soon as it comes out. You go, I gotcha. I know what to do with this. I know how they're going to animate it because it's right there. So that's really, yeah. It's I can't pick. Don't make me choose between my babies, but like, yeah, no, I love all of it. So it's all just really good fun.
Because knowing what is going to happen sort of ahead of time when he's seeing it must have made that tail swinging from Jack a lot easier to do.
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah, it was kind of nice. I can be like, oh, okay. I mean, like, because I don't think I do anything at the same exact rhythm as the Japanese guy does, but it's like, it still kind of like works with that. And like, we could just like kind of roll with that and go, oh yeah, okay, that's going to work. We can see that it works right now. And, yeah.
Because it's one of the sort of really great points of Jack in season 1, because it just fits and it works. It doesn't feel like you're desperately trying to make it work. It just works, and I think that really adds to the scene, especially then when you're bouncing off Jonah as well, who's kind of like, yeah, well, look,
Legoshi, there's just the everything sucks, my life is awful, hey, I'm Legoshi, okay, bye.
Just like such a great, that's a good Jonah impression. Sorry.
No, that's my like I think that's probably my Troy Baker impression too. Like, I don't know. Jonah has one of those, he has such a great like leading man voice, just way of speaking, where he just sounds like, oh yeah, that's the guy. Like, I wish I had that in me as like my natural voice, because this is my natural voice. It's, hi, I'm Ben, I'm a dork. So like, no, Jonah's like a terrific freaking pick for Legoshi. Like, he was this guy when like I didn't get it, and I was like, oh, I'm bummed that I didn't book Legoshi, but boy, I hope they get somebody good. And I went into to record for Jack, and I looked at the sign-in sheet to see if I could see who did they get for Legoshi. And I saw a bunch of actors. I won't name names. They're all really talented actors, but I was like, each and every one of these guys is wrong for this character. What if they hire this guy to play? Like, this is, no, don't do that. That's just terrible casting. Oh God, nobody's right. And then Jonah walks in, and he's like, oh, hey, I'm Jonah Scott. I'm here for the show. And he just like signs in, and I'm like, okay, that guy, I don't even know who that guy is. That should be Legoshi. And then it was Legoshi. And I was like, oh my God, perfect. Well, never mind. I feel way better about the casting on this. Like he's terrific.
I would love to bend Jonah's ear at some point, because he's one of those who's had a real lucky spark. He's only been doing it 2-3 years, and he gets a big role like Legoshi and straight in, and then suddenly you got all the fairy fandom attention, and
of course,
and it's like, oh wow, you got thrown into the deep end, man. At least you had practice with Agretsuko.
Honestly, I feel like Jonah has embraced the furry community even harder than me. So like I would have never done the furry reading the uwu bulgy wulgy thing. Like I would have never done that. I would have been like, oh no, I'm gonna get in trouble. But boy, Jonah, man, he's got no fear. He's like, yep, here I come.
I feel from, you can almost hear his soul breaking. It's just like, I'm not going to read it out here, but it's just like, oof. Is there been any character you've done over the very long time that you've been doing this, any one particular character that you go, I am so proud or happy to have been that character?
I mean, I'm my own harshest critic, but so like it's tough to say. Because there's always that thing I'm like, oh, if only I could go back and redo that. I could have done that better back then. Oh, that was terrible. Why did I do that? Dang it. But like, it's probably, it obviously varies depending on like what I've done. But like, it would probably still be Haida from Agretsuko, because I feel like I can really put the most of myself and my personal life experience into that character. There are a number of times when I am very disappointed in myself to say, oh yeah, I did that. Yep. I remember being exactly like that like a few years ago. And boy, if I could go back in time and just smack myself upside the head, I would. And oh, that's why I'm getting annoyed with Haida in this scene, because oh, for the love of God, dude, you dumb, please. Then you haven't seen season 3. So once you see season 3, you'll understand exactly what I'm talking about. Right. But yeah, he is not a perfect person. I will say that.
Because sometimes I know it's like, yeah, sometimes you just want to go to Haida and go, just tell her. Oh, it's just no. Oh, it's yeah. But it's just, I said, I'm just looking down at just I have to say that, but legacy, just the characters you've done, from little bit roles to leading characters. You've done good guys, you've done bad guys, you've done inhuman monstrosities. Do you like being a goodie or a baddie?
Baddie. Yeah. The bad guys are always the most fascinating and twisted and screwed up characters, and they are the best to play. Like if you were like, Ben, bad or good from now on, like, listen, you won't be a main character ever, but you will be a bad guy. I'm like, give me them bad guys. I don't care. I love playing the bad guys so much. It's always, I mean, come on, Skeletor is completely and totally insane in the new series. It's amazing. It's like, all right, you're both really, really nuts and also really, really threatening at the same time. So we want this sort of like effect of like, oh God, oh God. Like, and I'm just like, yeah, give me that. That's, I can sink my teeth into that, baby. Heck yeah. Villains all the way. Heck yeah.
Because Jason Manocha also said that he loves being a villain, but he's also been kind of typecast as a villain as well. And it's like, there's nothing wrong with that, but it's just, I do like asking those who've done sort of both, is it goodie or baddie? And at the minute, baddie's winning. Baddie's winning. Yeah. Everyone's going, oh yeah, they're usually better dressed as well. That's like, true.
They have better designs. They're cool. Yeah, it's great.
Well, time has unfortunately marched on. I wish I could just talk to you all night, because I would love just to hear you talk about anything all night. It is, I will say, it has been an absolute blast talking to you, Ben, and it's been a very deep honor. Thank you very much for spending your very precious time speaking to this dumb fat Brit on the internet about all sorts of different things.
Well, this dumb sweaty American doesn't mind. I did mention sweating a lot in the booth, right? I made sure that's not going to get taken out of context. Yes. Okay. All right. Cool.
But if I crop it there, it's good. It makes it.
I want to give thanks to George Peter, who helped make this episode happen. I owe you big time. Please consider liking, subscribing, or leaving a comment. Doing that means I can make more episodes in the future. This is Kraken, signing out.